Hello, welcome back to Shit They Don't Tell You. I'm Nikki Limo.
What's up? Iceman checking in.
And today we have a very special guest.
I am
very
a special
guest, Joe Jitsukawa.
Hello.
Thank you for being on our show today.
Thanks for having me.
It's going to be a mudda good time.
Mudda good times with me.
Nikki's legal brother, by the way.
What?
Nikki's legal brother, apparently.
Yeah.
I'm your legal brother now?
Yeah, totally.
Everyone's like, they're
that.
siblings, they're brothers, sisters.
Dude, all the time I'm either like, I do that, or I go, my dad does that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
My soul sister.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Joe was actually on our second episode ever of Shit They Don't Tell You.
Sure.
We're almost on our 100th episode now.
Oh my.
Isn't that crazy?
Really?
We're like
we
97, I think, right now.
Was that last year?
That was 2018. It
Oh my
was
God.
April of 2018 was when we did that episode. Yeah, because we only do one episode a week. I know you have Joe has a podcast he does with David So called GeniusBrain, and you guys release how many times a week?
Twice a week.
Twice a week. Okay.
Mine's come out on Thursdays with them.
Okay.
Yep.
So you guys will hit 100 episodes way before us, but
Probably already
for
did.
us it's like over 2 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I love your set too. It's a lot different
Thank
from
you.
the first one. It's way bigger. There's like more cameras. It's
Right.
just,
Yeah, I don't even know if, because at that time we weren't sure if we wanted to do video along with our podcast. We were just doing audio. And I think it used to go up on Steve's channel if we did any video, but it might have just been clips that we posted. But if you're listening right now, Joe was on an episode that was on Steve's channel. And if there's a clip up, that's where you would find it. And it's like in a closet. Like it's like in
it
this
was like
tiny ass
literally
room.
a big hallway. I
It
mean,
was
a hallway
embarrassing.
closet.
It was embarrassing.
Like
to
you
be in.
couldn't barely
Yeah.
fit the chairs that were in
Every
there.
time we had guests, they would walk through this really nice office and then go into a tiny closet.
It was intimate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there
it's
you
very
go.
intimate.
But the best part about this one is the furry tablecloth.
I love it.
Yeah.
If you ever do MDMA, this is what you want on your
Yes.
MDMA?
table. MDMA.
What's that?
The ecstasy.
Oh,
MDMA, yeah.
Sorry, I'm such a pure
I'm
innocent
learning
person.
about my drugs because I never tried it.
So the last time you were on our show, Joe, we talked about investments and investing, and this time we're going to talk about
shit.
credit.
Oh shit!
There's a theme here.
There's nobody better at credit than this man.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself an expert or anything like that. It's just, I think I can explain it to average peoples. I guess.
Yeah.
I just know a little bit more
And
than
you're
the average.
passionate about it.
And I care about it. Yeah.
He cares about
Yeah.
it so much. He sent
I
me
don't know.
9 pages of text about credit of shit I've never even heard of before. Like,
And
you're that good.
Yeah, and another thing is that I want to make it like a life's passion too, where someone can. Well, to me, I'm really passionate about people learning it because I think it's so vital. But no one really teaches this stuff at school or anything like that.
There's some shit they don't tell you.
Exactly, and we have the same mission.
Yes.
Because I created this online program called Joemalian Academy. It's my country's college.
Well, we're going to put a link to that in the description
Thank
too.
you.
What is it? It's like how 90 days?
Oh, no, that's a different one.
Oh, okay.
So Joemalian Academy is really about all the things your parents and the school system probably should have taught you so you could be successful.
Yeah.
And it's just basic skills, completely free. I'm teaching people about credit cards, budgeting, social skills, everything.
Do you think there's a little bit of conspiracy there that like
100%.
they don't teach it to you on purpose?
I think there is a reason.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it makes sense because the credit card companies wouldn't benefit if people didn't know how to use credit. Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah,
really?
right?
Yeah. Go figure.
And here's some shit they don't tell you too is that your credit affects everything. It literally determines what you can and can't buy, how much you of a loan you can get.
Yeah.
It determines your quality of life.
Yeah.
And you can't even opt out of it. You can't even be like, well, I won't get bad credit if I just don't have any. You have to have
Then you have
credit
none.
You
in
have
order to
to,
build
yeah.
credit.
It's like you don't even exist.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're not in the economy.
Yep.
So they make you have to have it, and they don't teach you how to make it good.
And what I want to do is teach people how to own it instead of being owned by it.
Yes.
Right? Because it's all about empowering people and using the same loopholes that rich people do. And instead of resenting, these big corporations and rich people, it's like, hey, these rules, we can work within them.
Yeah.
We can win using their rules
You
too.
can use it too.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's so overwhelming and it's so boring. And I think that's what intimidates a lot of people because
Do that on purpose.
But
too.
this is a productive way to actually do something. You know how people just bitch
Yeah.
about things and don't actually do something? This is a productive way to actually do something about like in your own life.
Yeah.
Like you said, use the rules the rich people use to win.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of fun perks to it too. Like a lot of people don't know that if you can do it and work it right, you actually get like free vacations and free stays, and there's so many fun things. Like it's like extreme couponing.
I'm just now learning about that stuff too, like because I like learned how to like build your credit score, right? But then these little perks, I totally didn't even know about them.
Yeah.
And like if you get different credit cards, you can get different perks. I'd heard of people being like, my airplane miles and all this stuff.
But what does that really mean, right?
Like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so I think what I try to do is just explain to them the easiest way possible, right? So I tell people for the last 2 years, I have never paid for a plane ticket or hotel with money. It's been free from credit card points.
Tell me how the fuck to do that.
Right. So
I'm in.
Yeah, and then when you hear that, you go, what?
Yeah.
How does that happen? And then this actually is available for everyone. Like a lot of people will say, oh, it's because you own businesses, Joe, or it's because of this or that. And I'm like, no, everybody can do this. Literally everybody. So it's basically how you use credit card points.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm brand new. Yeah. I've never opened a credit card before. I'm 18 years old. I'm just now like learning that I can build my credit. Where do I even start?
Well, you first want to open up a credit card account or something, or you got to build credit. So when people say credit, like what their credit score is or whatever, right? A lot of people look at it as like a report card. I like to look at it as like my health, because your health you can get a cold sometimes. You could go down, but you can always bring it back to like feeling great. Right?
This is like having the coronavirus, though. Like if
you might die, or cancer or something terminal.
It's like a 7-year fucking thing if you get a dent in your credit sometimes.
And that's like having cancer, right? But like let's just assume that it's not like that, because when you compare it to a report card, it's almost like permanent. Mm-hmm. When you get a bad grade and all these things, like it determines where you go to college next, and you go to and where you can go to university or whatever, right? But when I look at credit scores, I see it as like, I fucked up, but like I could always bring it back up.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good mindset to have, but most people are like, I don't know how to bring it back up. Yeah.
And so some people, like me, you start off, you just open up a credit card, you don't know what the hell to do with it. You keep swiping and swiping. And I know a lot of my friends like to use cash because they can visually see what they're spending, right? But for me, I don't know. I was just young and I didn't know what I was doing. So I opened up a student credit card. Like most of us start that way. It has like $300 or something. And you swipe away and you're like, free money. I'll pay it back later. I got a job. And then you forget when the bill comes. And then it's like, hey, you didn't pay your bill. We're going to charge you extra now. I don't know what this interest thing is. And I'm like, hey, I only owed like $300. Why do I own like $325 now? Mm-hmm. I don't have this extra $25. And then it just keeps racking up because you can't pay it all off.
Yeah, you'll pay like, I could pay $25 now, or I could pay $30 now, but I can't pay the whole thing now.
And you miss a few payments and here and there. And you look up your credit score, you're like, how did it get so low? I don't know. But most of us start off that way, where we don't start with a clean slate. Maybe we have it a little bit damaged and we got to work our way up. So there's different strategy based off of your situation. But for me, I started in the negative because I had to fix what the heck was going on. And I didn't really see the importance of the credit score either. I just decided to pay it all off, clean it up. And I didn't know what I was doing. It wasn't intentional at this time. And one time I was like, $300 is not enough. I want to have a bigger limit. So I signed up for another credit card. This was like a year down the line. I already paid like regularly. I already fixed it, right? Fixed it, I guess. I put that in quotes, but it got better. But at the time, when I signed up for this credit card, I didn't really put in, I lied.
about your job
income?
And all the income, yeah.
Because you know why? I didn't know that this was an official thing, like I was signing up for.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a fake application. Like in my mind, somehow it was just the same as when you're walking around campus and someone comes up to you and says, hey, would you like to help me like sign up for this thing? And then you put in fake information.
Yeah,
right?
it's like when you're at a mall and there's
Yeah.
a raffle for a car that's sitting there.
Yeah.
And just sticking in whatever information.
Exactly. Like
Sure,
you're
I'll
like,
never win this. Who
you're
cares?
like 18, 19 or so. I don't
It's
know.
like a
just-
Tinder bio where you say you're 6 foot and like you hope she
Yes.
doesn't notice.
Yes, and I didn't know that what I was doing was pretty illegal. I just did it. And then I said I was a doctor.
Shit. How much were you making?
$100-something thousand. So,
And you're like, I don't have an extra $25 to pay my $300 one.
but I got approved for like $10,000.
Holy shit.
I know. So this was, well, this
Did
was
they
like
catch you?
2004, 2005. Yeah, this was a while ago. No, they didn't catch me. So I think they have. I don't recommend anyone to do this. I kind of fell upon this illegally or accidentally, but this is just kind of the beginning of my, whoa, what's happening here, right? So I signed up for it. I got about $10,000 in credit. I got this new credit card, and I'm just like, hold on. Like, did anyone even check?
You're like a kid in a movie who just got a genie.
Yeah.
And I was kind of scared to use the credit card.
Yeah.
So it came in, and I still used it the same way. Like I used it, but I paid it off immediately every single month. I had this for a couple years, and I checked back, and my credit cards went up in how much I can use. It went from like $10,000 to $15,000. A couple $100 ones went to like a couple $1,000.
Do you think that they strategically raise those limits as you use the card, like to get you more addicted to using it?
Actually, I think it just he built trust, and
Yeah.
so because the big thing that affects your credit score is the ratio of your debt to like how much your credit limit is. So you want to utilize like less than 20% of your overall limit, and so if you have a higher limit, you can spend more but not hit that that ratio. Like you can still
Exactly.
stay under the ratio.
Yeah, and they go based off of what you're spending on average, or like just over loyalty and time, they increase it, which is really good for both parties, right? Because you get to spend more and they get to let you borrow more. So yeah, that's when I started getting more interested in it too. But at one point,
Interested.
yeah. But at one point, I decided, so how do I summarize this? So in between that, I decided to quit school, start a business, do all this other stuff. And I was making money. I was doing great. And then I decided to go back to college because I missed school and I missed young people and I hated the business world. I felt like it was full of greedy old people. So in order to do that, I wanted to be a full-time student. So I started using my credit cards as like living. And I was, so it just racked up. And at this time, I was in my early 20s, maybe 21, 22. And I already had about $30,000 or $40,000 in overall access to credit with multiple
Wow.
credit cards.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot
That's
at
more
the
than
time.
like a lot of people around you are probably making in a year.
Right.
Easily.
And I don't know if I did it the right like way, because every time I signed up for a credit card, I was like, let's see how this will go this time if I signed up and I say I make $80,000. And like I said, I don't recommend this stuff for anyone.
Right.
I just did it without knowing, if I'm supposed to do this or not. Thank God I didn't go and spend it all, right? So basically, I was using this stuff, and at the end of my graduation, I racked up about $30,000 in credit card bills again. I was paying the monthly minimum. I didn't miss a payment, but at the same time, I didn't really want to think about working while I was being full-time as a student, and I wanted to just focus on that. And I was like, you know what? When I graduate, I'm going to have a job anyway. And I thought, since I have a degree, it's going to work out. Unfortunately, that's when the recession hit, and I couldn't find a job.
Oh my God. Yeah, that really flipped everybody's heads upside down.
So I was panicking. I was like, okay, I have all this debt. I don't have a job. I only have $200 in my bank account. Now what am I going to do? So I had to find a job. I put in like 100 different applications. No one would hire me. And I'm like, I have a degree, damn it. What the heck?
Yeah. It's funny because our parents told us to get that degree because it's like a security. You'll always get to have a job.
Right.
But then they didn't have to deal with that recession period.
No.
Yeah.
It just didn't work out. It didn't work out the way that I thought it would. And I was like, oh, I'll pay it off later. That's the mentality I always had. I'll pay it off later. It'll be fine. Well, here's the thing. I didn't pay it off. I was going to miss my first payment. I've been paying it all the way until college, right? And I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Thank God that week I actually found a job and I was able to make the minimum payment. And then from there, my goal was to pay this whole thing off. And then I was like, wait a minute. I didn't know what APR was or interest was. So every month I'm paying, but I'm not paying the full amount. So on that $30,000, there's something called interest, which is that percentage, that APR or whatever. But they add whatever the percentage is, they add that every year. So you can technically end up paying way more than you originally borrowed.
Well, your minimum can only cover the interest sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what people don't understand is you might use your credit card to buy something on sale or on discount, right? But if you're not paying that whole entire thing off and you have interest on it, and you might be paying it piece by piece, but by the time you're done paying for everything, you might have spent like way more than you had the item on discount for.
Yeah. You didn't really get the deal.
No, you didn't get the deal.
Steve Green likes to say.
That's what I love to say.
He tries to get the deals, but if
Always.
you did it that way, you didn't get them. I have a similar story. I knew about interest because my dad was a CPA, my mom was the vice president of a bank. So they were in the financial arena. And growing up, I think they tried to tell us things because they had ended up in debt. They had me when they were super young and before they were in their careers. And so they had racked up a lot of debt. And so while I was growing up, my dad was trying to save me from the same mistakes that he made.
Yeah.
So he told me about you have to have a credit card to build credit. You have to pay it off right away because otherwise the interest will stack up and you'll get in too much debt.
Yeah.
So I knew the right things to do when I started out with a credit card, a student credit card. And I had been building credit for a while up until 24. That's 18 to 24. That's 6 years. And my credit score was really, really good. I had been making car payments and I had been, renting an apartment and stuff. And I had built it really well. What they didn't teach me, or my dad didn't teach me because I don't know. I never asked, and he just was trying to give me bits and pieces as it was going. Was if you what wrecks your credit. Yeah. So I built this great credit and then I got into a situation where, and I had been approved for $20,000 worth of different credit cards. And at that point I had about 4 different accounts open plus my car payment and stuff. And then I went through a breakup where I couldn't, and now it doubled the amount I was going to have to pay for rent if I wanted to stay in my apartment. And so I didn't have that money, so I put it on the credit card thinking eventually I'll find a different place or I'll find a roommate or something where a situation where I can just pay it back. Yeah. But I never did. And then I ended up losing one of my jobs, so I had less income coming in. So the debt started to rack up. And I just got to a point where I couldn't pay it. I had to choose between paying my rent or paying the credit card debt. And so I paid my rent and my car payment, but I couldn't pay the credit card debt. And so I made my first missed payment was in 2012. And then it just kept going, missed payment after missed payment. Oh, no. And then I had people calling me hey, we noticed you never missed a payment for 8 years, because at this point it had been 8, it went from 6, 7, 8 years, and is there something going wrong in your life? I'm actually, and I just had a heart-to-heart with that person. I was I got broken up with, I lost my job, just a lot of stuff happened all at once, and honestly I don't know when I can make another payment. And I don't know if I just got lucky with the person being a nice person, but they empathized and they're okay, we won't bother you for 6 months. Yeah. So I was okay, that's enough time to rebuild my life, because they're how much time do you need? 6 months. Yeah. Well, 6 months happened. I didn't really rebuild my life. Mm-hmm. And instead of addressing it, I just shut down different accounts. Oh, no. I started shutting down.
Oh, no, that's even worse.
I shut down 3 of my credit cards. And then the other 2 that had the most debt, I think it was something like $10,000 on these other 2.
Wait, I just ignored it.
I just ignored it. And I just kept ignoring it. Like
Yeah.
I just ignored the calls and stuff.
Yeah.
And it would stress me out, but I just didn't have the money to pay for it, so I just ignored it.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it was ruining my score, but I didn't know shutting down the cards would ruin my score, but I knew not paying it was ruining my score. I just didn't know how much.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how much damage it would do that I couldn't come back from. And I had heard from some people, this is something I also don't recommend, but if you just ignore it for like 7 years, there's a statute of limitations where they won't collect on it.
Yeah.
So they'll just
As long as
forgive
it's
it.
under a certain amount.
Yeah. Okay. So this is why I don't recommend it. Okay. One, it worked for me, but two, I don't recommend it because they can sue you if you do.
So if it's under a certain amount, it's less likely that they'll
It's
sue
less
you.
likely, but
is the idea behind it.
Yeah.
but they
but-
can.
I mean,
like,
there's a lot of ways to do
It's
it, right?
it's a dice roll.
There's
You can go six-
bankruptcies. You can just wait
Yeah,
and dodge.
yeah.
There's other ways to deal with it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it, honestly. We can get to all that, but you're right.
Yeah.
Like people don't know what happens when, you go through this situation and then you don't, like you actually did. The first thing was actually a good thing where you negotiated or you talked with them.
yeah.
Because people don't even know you can do that.
Right.
You
Right.
can negotiate with your creditor. You can even clean shit up too.
But how do if I'm just starting right now and I just got a card, like you said, sign up for a credit, how exactly do I build my credit up? Like what you're saying.
So the concept of credit, to simply put, right, it's like showing that companies can trust you. That's all it is, right? So there are places now where you can actually go to a dealership and they'll say like, hey, do you have a job? Do you have a pay stub? How long have you been working there? Okay, we'll lease you a car. We'll rent you out, or we'll sell you a car. It might be for more expensive, but the concept behind this is like they're taking a risk on you because they don't know if you'll run away with a car or whatever. It's it's not to be taken offensive or anything like that. It's just that the credit thing is a trust thing. Can people do business with you? Can people borrow you money, right? Or lend you money? And so if you look at it that way, right, you just got to go through these different things, like whether it's buying a car or signing up for a credit card, these small little things, where you can start building trust with a company. And when people pull your credit score, they'll see all those companies that you're paying off and everything. And it's actually better to open up more credit cards. So there's a lot of myths about credit cards that people have no clue about. They'll be like, oh, I shouldn't have that much credit cards because, it seems like I have to borrow too much. And I'm like, that's actually the opposite. The more credit cards you have open, they go, this person's trustworthy.
And the longer the accounts are standing.
Yes, don't close
so
them.
the age of credit history, and that was the mistake that I
Right.
made with closing those accounts, because had I kept them open, the first account I opened at 18, well, now at 33, that's a lot. That's 15
But
years
what
of
people
of
think
credit.
is, I don't use this anymore.
Right.
So I'm going to close this. But what ends up happening is like, oh, you closed it because,
Or they're like, oh, this is a bad habit that I keep putting things on my credit
Yeah.
card. I'm just going to snip it and close that account.
and all they see is, oh, this business doesn't trust you, or you don't trust. There's no trust in between here
Yeah.
anymore. So there's less accounts, right? Aside from that, too, there's another myth where people go, oh, it's good to have a balance on the card and pay it off monthly, little by little. That's how you build credit. That's actually how you damage credit. Or it doesn't damage, but it doesn't help.
Carrying
So how do you build
a
it?
carrying
it's
a
paying
higher
it off every month, right?
You pay off, every single month, and you show that you pay off total every single month. And as you're spending more on the card, let's say your average spending is $1,000, and then let's say like you're spending $5,000 every month, and you're paying that off. Then you can go and submit and say, hey, I need more money. Can you give me a higher limit?
Yeah. And what my dad would tell me to do is, he said, never put anything on the credit card that you don't have the cash to back it up.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people go, well, I'll put it on the card because I'll get the money later.
Yeah.
And like you did
In
with
my
your
situation,
story.
yeah.
And he really warned me about that, because I think he did that too. And so you always have the money in your account to back up the credit, so that when you put the things on the credit card, you're building the credit, showing that you're using the credit, and then you pay it off, the whole balance,
Yeah.
showing that you have the cash to pay it off, and that establishes that trust. So I have my automatic payments set
Yeah.
to pay off the full balance every month. So whatever I put on there, it's getting taken out, the whole balance.
Is it true that if, like, say I have a card with $1,000 limit, is it true that if I pay, say I racked up $75, I pay it all off at the end of the month, and then the next month I racked up, say $200, and I pay all that off, does my credit score go up based on the amount of money spent and paid off, or does that even matter?
And the ratio.
It's factored on a lot of things. I think it's based off of if you're in good standing with the company, like that means paying everything off for how long, credit usage. That means the ratio, because you have like $1,000 worth of credit you can use on one card, right? Mm-hmm. If you keep it under 30% balance, it keeps your credit score high. If you have accounts with companies that, so for example, if you have a mortgage, like a 30-year loan or like a long duration loan, things like that boost it up, because that just means that they trust you. And then the more it goes into the time of paying it off, that helps increase it as well.
Got it.
Yeah. But really, going back to the whole interest thing, though, that's where people get messed up.
Yeah.
Because that's how the banks make money, is they're basically making free money, right? So on my $30,000 that I owed-ish, right, if I pay the minimum over time, that's going to be $60,000 total that I'm paying or more. And that's what people don't understand, is like, you're paying 100% more just because they let you borrow money.
Right.
And they let you pay the minimum to pay it off. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's what, I mean, the math is hard, right? And it's so overwhelming, and then not everyone can afford everything. So this is how they get rich. And this is why they can offer perks to people that know how to use the credit system well. And this is why they offer a lot of other perks, because people might be enticed to join these different programs because they go, oh, wow, like this one gives free cash back for groceries, or this one has really good rewards for travel, right? So the whole concept behind the point system is, if you're using our card, we'll give you points in exchange. So that's where the whole extreme couponing kind of thing is. It's like, our points, you can buy like hotel or airfare or whatever, right? So people see that and they go, okay, cool. Let me go and like use everything on my card, and then I can get these like free trips and stuff. What people don't know, though, is they mathematically, they just know how many people are gonna be irresponsible. So it's still worth it for them. And
spoilers, it's a high ratio of people that are going to be irresponsible.
But if you can stay disciplined and if you can work it well, you're basically getting free money. Because if you're paying it off every month, and to me, I don't see really the reason why not to use it. Because for one, it's better than using cash. I rather use credit all day long.
It's more secure.
Exactly. Like if I lose my credit card, if someone uses my credit card and does identity theft and like they start charging or whatever, all I have to do is call the company and be like, hey, I didn't buy these things. But if it was your debit card, it's really hard because they took your actual money.
Right. Or your cash. I mean, it's gone.
It's gone. Right. So first and foremost, I use credit cards for that reason mainly. It's for protection. All the other stuff, that's like perks and to build credit and all that. But I think if at any reason anyone should get it, because it's safe.
Yeah. And it builds trust, and it affords you more things in the future. Like if you want to buy a house, like you can get a loan based on how well you handled your credit cards or your car payments or whatever. Because if you've never bought a house before, they can't really gauge off of how you paid your last mortgage payment.
Exactly.
They have to gauge off of what other lines of credit you've used. So it is smart to use your cards and use them wisely. I think the trap is not knowing what wisely is. Like no one teaches you the right way to do that. Some tips that so my credit got fucked.
Yeah.
Let me come back to this after the break, because we'll take a quick break and we'll come back. Hey, are you listening to Shit They Don't Tell You? Because if not, how are you listening to this ad about Shit They Don't Tell You?
It's because they can't turn it off. They don't know how to turn it off.
Well, that's pretty convenient for us.
They're throwing their phone on the ground right now.
Once you can figure it out, could you please rate us and subscribe and tell us that we're beautiful?
Listen,
we want it.
We need the validation. But mostly we need the ratings because I mean that's basically how the world is
That's
run.
how we continue to make more and more and more of this content, this glorious content that you love so much.
If you like the show, support the show. And if you don't like the show, support the show.
And it's for free. The stars are for free.
Yeah, you give them away for free. It's not like if you give 5 stars, you pay more money. They should have charged for every single star. I would have made so much money. I just made a killing.
Okay, we're back from the break. Okay, my credit got fucked.
Yeah.
Right?
So how did you get out of it? I'll tell you how I got out of it. You go. Yeah.
All right, so my credit got fucked because of that situation that I was talking about before. Yeah. And for years now, it's been I could not make it move above 640, 650, which is not a good score at all. And I was trying to, save money to buy a house and all kinds of stuff. But it really doesn't matter how much money I save to buy the house unless I'm paying in full, because no one would give me a good loan if my credit score sucks. So I was doing the right things, and this is why I'll tell you about the right things to do. Was I opened new lines of credit because I had shut down all of my lines of credit. I had 0 lines of credit.
You opened up more credit cards, more loans, or
I got a car payment. So I opened up a very low balance credit card because that's all that would approve. Yeah. So I had like a $300. It was back to square one basically with the building the credit. And then to get my car, I signed with my dad. So my dad had a really good credit score. And I recommend this if you can find somebody who trusts you very, very much, who has good credit and you're not going to fuck them over. Sign up for a line of credit with that person where they co-sign on it. They have everything to lose if you fuck up, so it has to be.
And if you're the person, just don't do it.
Yeah,
that's what I say.
I actually helped a friend do that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
What I put her on my account, and then, you hold the card, you just put their name on.
Yeah.
So then the company sees it as they have access to this money.
Oh, that's another way to do it. For me, I was the primary person on the car loan.
With your dad.
But my dad was the co-signer. So we're on the registration as I think an and. It's my name and his name. Yeah. There's an and there's an or. So
does it benefit his credit too?
It does, as long as I pay it on time every month.
Yeah. Well, that's the dangerous part because you're buying a car together.
Yeah.
But it's family, so
it's family, and he trusted me, and I'm scared enough of my dad.
Yeah.
He did a good job scaring me that I will never disappoint him. So that helped me build credit there. I also when I started using my credit card, the little one that I got, and I started building trust there. So they started increasing my credit limit. It went from $300 to $1,000 to now it's at $4,000 credit limit.
Congrats.
Thank you. And then I started putting things that I already paid with my bank account on auto payment. I started putting them onto my credit card instead, like the utilities. So every month I have like $150 in utilities. I'm already going to pay that with cash. So I already budgeted for that.
Yeah.
Why not put it on the credit card and it gets paid every month?
Yep.
I put gas on there, groceries, things that you already are going to pay cash for. And that helped build the credit, and it's on auto payment. I pay the balance every month. Another tip I learned is I pay it twice a month because they base your credit score off of a certain date. And sometimes your auto payment happens after that date. So I make sure that my balance is paid off before the credit score companies check to see my statement. And,
that's very smart.
And then I also make sure that since there's a $4,000 limit on there, that it never goes above $1,000 balance.
So if it says this is the date that it's due, say it says it's due on the 8th.
Yeah.
You pay it off on like the 26th.
Yeah.
I see.
Or like, there's...
Yeah, it depends on what the credit company checks. Like you could actually see it. Like I use Credit Karma. And on Credit Karma, they check between, I think it's Experian and... Shoot, I forgot the other.
It's Equifax and TransUnion. I just
that's a travel agency.
No. Experian is a.
Okay.
You're thinking Expedia is a travel agency.
Yeah.
No, Experian is the one they don't use, and
is it TransUnion?
So TransUnion and Equifax are on Credit Karma, but I recently applied for another credit card and got denied, and I was like confused because recently my score went up to 800.
Wow.
So I'm like, why am I getting denied credit when my score is so good? Well, I went and looked at the only one that's not on Credit Karma, which is Experian. And now I'm all fucked up. I'm like,
right?
Experian. Yeah, and I went to Experian, and my score on Experian was 640 still.
Yeah, that's why you got to cross-reference because they all update differently. And so you can actually call them and dispute it too.
Yes,
and
so
have
I did
them
that.
update. Yep.
So I had this check your fucking credit reports. You get a free one from each of the unions every year. But yeah, so there was this collections on my report that I didn't know was on there. It was from a doctor's appointment in 2015 that I canceled, and they charged me a cancellation fee, but because they said I didn't do it within the 48 hours, but I did do it within the 48 hours.
Those assholes.
And so I never paid it, and they sent it to collections, and I didn't know that it was in collections.
Oh.
And so it's been there since 2015. Now we're in 2020, and I didn't know that's just been sitting as a derogatory mark on my credit, ruining my
It's
score.
like a $25 fee too, right?
Yeah, and if things go to collections, that's a high impact.
It is.
So there's high impact things and there's low impact things, which there's so much to talk about. But yeah, so these are just little tips that I'm telling you that helped improve my score. But the biggest one was the derogatory mark about those closed accounts.
Yeah.
That got charged off after 7 years. But it took me 7 years for it to get charged off because I thought I was doing all the right things and my score wasn't improving. But once that got taken off my report, and you can hire companies to get things taken and scrubbed off of your report, it went up. Also, you can settle. You can negotiate something and settle.
Yeah.
But if you negotiate, huge tip, make sure it's in the negotiation that they have to scrub that off of your report.
Yeah.
Because you could just settle for something and end up, say you're like, oh, I got a good deal. I owed $8,000. I only paid $2,000. But they take your $2,000 and they don't take that derogatory mark off of your report. It's like you never even paid it.
Right.
You can also get taxed on that, on the 8,000, right?
Oh, really?
Or on the disparity.
Yeah. But that's another thing.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
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 Okay, now you tell me your story.
No, I mean, shoot, that's you know a lot actually. That's
I was
But
pissed.
we learn because we make the mistakes and we have to go through it, and we're like, well, what is the best way to navigate, right? That's how I learned too.
Dude,
like,
she learned one phone call at a time. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh my
I
God,
mean,
it was one tearful phone call at a time.
and
Being so
it's
frustrated.
like we're trying to compact years of our knowledge and where we failed and what we learned into like a very small piece, and it's difficult to do it within this whole hour. But I think I'm trying to bullet point this the easiest way possible because there's just so much information, and I think the thing that messes people up the most, I keep going back to interest.
Yeah.
People don't understand how that works, and when you borrow money, you don't pay it off, you get into a little bit of trouble. That's when the spiral happens, right? And then for me, it was the 30-40 grand, like, and then hitting the interest.
Oh, that's a lot of interest.
Yeah, and I kept looking every month, and I'm like, it's barely making a dent. I'm paying like hundreds of dollars here. I don't know what's happening. And then what I realized, at the time I was making only about a little less than $2,000 a month.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, how am I going to do this, right? So I had to figure out a way to budget, figure out a way to live. And then I started looking at why it was charging me so much. And I started looking at this percentage. It says APR 26%.
Annual
APR,
percentage rate.
Exactly, 18%. What does this mean? And I started figuring it out like, oh, they add money for letting me borrow money. This sucks, right? And then one day I get a letter and it says 0% interest rate for 16 months. It's a credit card. And then it's telling me to sign up. Balance transfer, no fee, whatever. And I'm like, what is this? So I open it up. I sign up for it, or I look at it before I sign up for it. And then basically it hit me. I'm like, I could just open this credit card right now, take the credit card with the highest APR, transfer this money to the 0 APR, pay off the high APR one down first, and start knocking this out strategically. So this kind of gave me this inspiration. Wait, if I can do this with one credit card, how many more credit cards can I do this for? And then that's what I started doing, is opening up more credit cards, right?
You're the best.
With the 0%.
With the 0% APR, I moved that money over. And so I wasn't being charged more. And then I had to figure out on my end, budget-wise, how can I aggressively pay down this loan,
God, you and my dad are so similar.
It took me about a good year or so, but aside from working, I had to do all kinds of different side hustles and all that. But in less than 2 years of working like a 9-to-5 job, I paid off that.
What was your strategy for that?
Well, for one, it was moving all the money into like a 0% APR.
But then what was your like aggressive like
I
budgeting?
lived on less than $1,000 a month.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I was making about $2,000 starting.
Yeah.
And then there were ways for me to get promotions and things like that. And I got up to almost $3,000-ish.
So you would just use the rest of that income to pay off debt.
Yeah. So I spent over $2,000 a month on just paying off the debt. I would well, before that, I used to have an eBay business. So I would like go to yard sales and then find things and then resell it. And I think like Gary Vee is super about this nowadays, where you like start going to places and you pick junk and then you go and sell it online or Craigslist. Me and my friend used to buy and sell things like Apple products, like iPhones and like laptops and stuff like that. My uncle helped a lot because he had this RV. And then he's like, I'm old. I don't want it, but like I want to sell it. And I was like, I don't have time. I'm like working all day. I have a buddy that's really into cars. So I said, how about this? How much do you want for it? And he goes, I don't care, like a couple thousand. And I looked up and I'm like, this thing can probably sell for about 8. And he goes, well, I don't want to do the work. So if you could sell it for 8, take it. So then I took it to my friend. I was like, hey, if you sell this, I'll give you $1,000. And he's like, all I got to do is sell it. And I'm like, yeah, put it on Craigslist, whatever. He found a buyer, did all the paperwork, whatever. I just came in, I signed because I got the pink slip from my uncle.
That's great.
That's nice.
Yeah. So then I got like about $8,000 for it, paid off my friend $1,000, paid my uncle $3,000. I had a couple $1,000s like that. So I was doing different trades and side hustles. Yeah. Just continuously, just trying to find opportunity. Yeah. And I think if there's a will, there's a way, you know.
I think what gave you hope was finding that way to not have to pay that interest.
Because it didn't feel like a never-ending loop.
Yeah,
right.
It just feels like, exactly, just a hole of despair.
Right.
And you had a strategy, man.
I had a strategy.
When people don't have strategies, they just feel stuck. Yeah. But when you have a plan of attack, then you can actually start to see progress.
My dad's strategy, he said if you ever end up in debt, the way he got out of debt was he's like, it really sucks in the beginning, because his strategy, but he said he paid off 50% every month. So
it's crazy.
If you have 20,000, like find a way to pay off 10,000.
Yeah.
And he would just do all that side hustling just to pay off the 50%. And then the next month he only had 10,000, so he had to pay off 5,000. And then the next month he paid off 2,500. And then the next month, and it all whittled all the way down. So he aggressively paid off all that debt within like 6 months.
Wow.
Because he just paid off 50% every month, and he found some way to do it. But because it was like that, you know, that why was so strong that like he wanted to buy a house for his family.
Yeah.
It motivated him.
Dude, you paid $10,000 that first month.
He's like, it really fucking sucks that first month.
By the 5th month, you're like, I'm fucking balling.
Yeah, I had a pretty big why too, because at the time I wanted to go full-time YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't want to work this freaking warehouse job. You know, I'm like, I have a college degree, it didn't work out for me. I'd rather just go YouTube, but I had this debt. So I felt like I have to work. And I'm like, you know what? When I'm debt free, I'll figure out how to make money other ways. So I was like, I got to get debt free so I could go full-time YouTube.
And now look at you.
Yeah. Now I still have debt, but it's in other ways.
Good debt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And and then so it just keeps morphing because the education keeps changing, right?
Right.
Because we think debt is bad. And then you go, wait a minute, it's actually kind of good if you use the debt to make more money.
Isn't there a book called Good Debt, Bad Debt, or
Rich
something?
Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, talk about
Robert
that.
Kiyosaki.
When you say you pay literally everything with credit, are you talking like everything? You pay groceries?
Yes.
You can't
Pretty
pay
much.
rent with it, really, can you?
You can, but the math doesn't make sense because there are some places that'll cut checks for you. Like, I forgot the name of the sites, but then you can go look up this online, but they'll cut like actual checks. So you just put your credit card in, and then they'll charge you like a 2 or 3% fee.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then so that's how you get these points where you say you haven't paid for air travel in 2 years.
Yeah. So over the years, you know, I'm like, I'm gonna buy this with cash anyway, like food, you know, everything. everything I can use my card for, I rack it up with that.
Yeah.
So dope, man.
And it gets even more exponential once you have a business.
Yeah.
It gets crazier.
But you're also, you're building though while you're building your credit, even though you're getting into debt. Technically, you're still building your credit. So that's
remember the Vegas trip that we did?
Yeah.
We didn't pay a dime for that one.
That's so
crazy.
dope.
So what we used the points on were, I think we got like at least 10 rooms for everyone.
Yeah, that was
That was
insane.
like 30 people that went.
Yeah.
So we had all those rooms. I got like the 2-3 shows. We had the bodies exhibit. We did the O.
Yeah, the O.
With the
show.
buffet.
Yeah.
And the Penn and Teller.
The Penn and Teller.
Yeah.
I don't think I put the food on. So other than the food, just the hotel.
It's crazy.
All of that was on points.
Wow.
So it was
For
basically
30 people.
free.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's free.
That's
It's
so
amazing.
cool. When you know how to use it,
Yeah.
I've never been able to really fully understand how to utilize that point system. That's like my next goal right now is to
Me too.
figure that
Especially
out.
after talking to you past couple of weeks because you've been talking about how you did all that, and I'm like, shit.
I want to talk a little bit more about because like you said about the interest, how people aren't aware of that. Like they don't know about that. The pitfalls.
Yeah.
You know, the things that you don't know about credit. With me, it was closing accounts. You know, so my credit age isn't very good, which affects the score. So there's high impact items that will affect your credit score, and then there's low impact
there's low
items.
impact.
And when you hear people like say they don't want to ding their credit with an inquiry, you know, like
it's low impact, but it happens. Yeah.
if you pile too many of them on, like
But
so
it's so low impact.
every time you ask for a line of credit, the person will essentially ding your credit score because they have to place a hard inquiry on your credit to determine whether or not they trust you enough to give you that line of credit. And so like when you're shopping for a car, if you go to 3 different dealerships and they all ping your credit, it starts to add up.
Yeah.
And if you get like 8 or 9 of those, it becomes less low impact and starts to go into
Yeah, because it adds up. Yeah. I get those too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of people don't know that every time they go and try to apply for credit, they're getting a ding.
Yeah, it's called a hard inquiry.
Yes.
So you got to ask, but it's it's the way the game goes. But just don't try to get a car and then a house at the same time, like back to back.
I fucked up that way too because I was shopping for a car and I went to a couple different dealerships and they all pinged my credit.
And then when you go for a house, they look at it and the credit drop.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And then I went to go get a phone. I
Yeah.
changed my carrier and they dinged it.
Yeah.
And it was all within the same year.
Yeah.
And then I went to go get pre-approved for a loan on a house and it was like just all these dings all
Not
at
enough
one time.
space.
Yeah.
But sometimes too, it's just necessary. You can't avoid doing it.
Right.
But the cool thing is, when someone's looking at it, they can see where the drop is coming from, like because they'll see your credit history, and the 2 things that they're really looking for is how much you actually owe in total, how much you're making, and also the derogatories. So
Yeah.
like, if you missed payments,
So those are high
those
impact.
are the ones that hurt big time. So, but it's not the end of the world because there's solutions, right? You can actually call them and ask them to take it off. If you've been paying, every month for a long time, you can ask them to scrub it. You can ask them to. There's a lot of ways you can repair
Yeah.
it. There's actually nonprofit organizations too that help people, and they're like cleared by the government, all that stuff. So they help you fix everything up. And they're way better experts than I am because they're like, licensed and trained to do all this stuff.
Yeah, because I think that's the number one thing stopping people from fixing their credit is that they're just scared of it. Like they're just like, this is so much and so much information.
Gives me anxiety.
Yeah, it gives me anxiety. I don't want to even look at it.
Yeah, and then it's overwhelming, right? But I mean, I actually have a credit card course on my page, the JoemalianAcademy.com page.
tight.
Yeah. And for all different situations, like regardless if you're a beginner or someone that's coming in with damaged credit. Like we have all those links.
Do you have one for someone that wants to earn a bunch of points?
Yeah.
Because I want
Where's that?
to sign up for that.
I breeze over the points section.
Okay.
But it's the basics.
Yeah.
Because I can get into even more advanced stuff, and we could probably talk off camera about all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, I think people should baby step. Yeah.
Got all the secrets.
We got to start with baby steps.
Yeah, for sure.
And for me, I'm not the best at helping people in specifics. That's why I just give links to like the organizations that can help.
But when you say that, you know how rich people navigate the system to their benefit. What are some of those tips?
Excuse me?
Oh, when you say that rich people navigate the credit system to their benefit, what are some of those tips that the regular folks can do?
So what rich people do is they leverage credit, right? So I'm going to say something that's, I guess, kind of like big picture. So, for example, what they'll do is, have you ever heard of like money makes money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't use your money, you use other people's money, right? So they'll have good credit, which means they can get big loans. And let's say there's a business for sale that's operating by itself. They'll use this loan, buy the business, and they're immediately making money from that. As simple as I can put it.
Yeah. Or like real estate flipping, where they take that money, they borrow it, they get a flipper house, they use that money to fix it up, and then they quickly sell it, and then they make that profit and
sell it in time to pay the loan.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the middle class can do something similar, but on a smaller scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe we can buy a condo to rent.
Or stocks. You can learn how to invest in stocks and like a couple $100. We talked about this a little on JK, but Graham Stephan has like some good
he's
videos
awesome.
On plug. But yeah, Graham Stephan has some good videos on how to take like a smaller amount of money and use that to leverage and make money from your money.
Yeah. And you don't even have to use your own money if you understand how this works. But I don't recommend it for a beginner because you have to figure out the percentages. It's all about the percentages. So if you understand interest, you can do this well. So it's like, let's say you borrow $1,000 and it's a 3% interest, right? But you know for sure if you invest this $1,000 into this other thing, you get 12%, right? So you borrow for 3%. You put it into this for 12%. You get where I'm,
Yeah. So you get that extra 8% or
9. Yeah.
9%.
So you get 9, right? So in between just being the middleman, you collect 9% interest. So that's how the game is played. You borrow from one and then you invest into another and then you get the difference in between.
Mm-hmm.
And so you let money make money.
And because you're able to pay it off right away, it actually helps build your credit score.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I wonder what kind of shit they get for free with points.
Oh my goodness.
Scares me.
So there's guys out there on a bigger scale that have like 10, 20, 30 million dollars worth of credit. It's insane.
That's insane.
Those are the guys who go to Vegas high roller areas.
Black
Black
Amex cards. The other thing that I just recently found out last year after Steve had freaking kidney stones when we were on vacation in Costa Rica, we didn't have travel insurance. I thought we did, but we did not because the little vacation waiver on Expedia is not travel insurance. But I found out that a lot of credit cards, like especially Amex, they can work as insurance too. So they'll have a built-in travel insurance. So there's a lot of different perks that I think that even if you go look at your own credit cards, like there's a lot in my own credit cards that I didn't even know that I had those perks.
My friend, so Amex, American Express, is kind of cool because even if you can't get a refund within 30 days of whatever product, like let's say he got a laptop that got stolen, right? So he can't go back to Apple and say, hey, check this out. They got stolen. Here's the police report. They're like, so? But if he purchased that on his American Express, he can actually get a full refund on it.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Yeah. So they have these cool perks.
Why are they being
like
good guys like that?
I
thought they're all bad guys.
Because the perks is what brings people
It'll
in.
entice people. So if you
but
know
not
about
everyone does the homework and uses the full,
So the fuck ups pay for them to be able to offer
Pretty
these
much.
perks.
because there's way more people that don't do their homework, basically.
Right. Which is what the point systems are based off of.
Yes.
But they do that with if you buy a camera, like you know how I always fucking drop my cameras and break them within a couple months of like buying them? Well, if I purchase them on certain credit cards, it's covered. Like they'll actually pay for a replacement for the camera, or they'll give a full refund, and it acts as insurance too. So there's really not a lot of downside to using your credit card as long as you're utilizing it properly and you have the cash to back it up and you don't get in too much debt that's going to cost you a lot of interest to pay off.
I think the thing that's dangerous is like human discipline and emotions and things like that's the hard part, right? Because if you can overcome that, you can really kill it. Like this system is really made.
I think that's the fun part. For
it is
me,
the fun.
Is that like once you know the rules, it's like knowing the rules to a game, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna win this game.
Exactly.
But I'm scared of this dopamine injection you're giving me right now because I'm just hearing the guy with the question mark suit going, "You can get free money," and I'm like, wait, this has got to be too good to be true. But this is legit. I've been there while it was all free. Like I've seen it.
Do you know why gyms make so much money?
Oh yeah, because people don't go.
Yeah,
and they
bank on the majority of people that buy gym memberships not going to the gym, and so that's how they make their money. Where you can just pay a small fee a month and be able to use all the because most of the people aren't going to use the gym. So that's how the credit cards are able to reward people that know how to use it, is that most people are going to fuck up and have to pay so much interest. And
so the people at the top who are doing a good job or in the middle doing a good job, you can get some sick points.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just like the people at the gym that are using the gym membership are going to get a sick body.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the cool thing about it, I think, is it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, if you can all benefit from this system. Like there's, credit cards that you can get 60,000 free points if you spend $1,000 within 3 months or something like that, right? If you do the math, that's almost like an extra $600 or something.
Yeah.
Free. If you work that right, do all this stuff.
You can see how it becomes that extreme couponing.
It is.
When you are looking for all that, it takes some time to look for all those deals, but then you can essentially do all that.
Yeah.
So I recently signed up for a credit card. And
congrats.
You scolded me though. You said bad job.
Did I?
What? How did I fuck up with that card?
I don't know exactly what.
It was the Capital One Venture.
I don't remember. Well, in your case, so I don't really remember, but I think this is what happened, right? It's like you accidentally closed some accounts.
I closed a bank account,
and you had credit cards tied to that account.
Yeah.
Okay, and then because you closed it, same thing with Nikki, you didn't know, it just knocked your credit score down.
Yeah, we got married. I thought, well, we'll have one account, so I'll close my old account.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah. I didn't know that closing a bank account.
Oh, man. Don't do that, folks.
You. Yeah,
and just don't close anything.
Because I opened, like you said, I opened the credit card with that account.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So
I also think that you should open another credit card with me co-signing or someone with higher credit co-signing, and then you get a better balance and you get
Joe, will you be my co-signer?
Yeah, I'll help you boost it.
Oh, that's nice.
I don't want you to do it.
That's a good friend.
Yeah, no, I know he does.
It's easy. I just have to put you under my account as a holder, and then I won't send you the card so you can't use it. Perfect.
He won't be
but
able
you'll see it go up.
Hey, that's sick.
Yeah. There's actually a gray area service that people do where if they want to boost their credit, they jump on a service where guys are willing to put them on. Yeah.
And then they you said, they just hold the card and don't do anything.
Yeah, and it boosts their credit.
Wow. Joe's that's my side business.
Sounds like it.
No, I don't feel safe doing it with people that aren't my friends.
Yeah, true.
But that's one method. And there's ways. So if you do come with damaged credit and you want to find the fastest way, there's something called secured cards, right? And this is another opportunity for people with no credit or damaged credit to regain trust with the banks again. And so with a secured card, you go in, you pay about $1,000 or $500 or whatever, and that's the collateral.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. It's different from a debit card or using a cash card or a prepaid because it doesn't withdraw from that. It's just collateral. So if you put in $1,000, right?
They always have their investment.
Yeah, it's like $1,000 is in there. But when you're paying for things, it doesn't deduct from that.
Right. It's like a deposit. If you are renting an apartment, you put down your security deposit. Yeah. That doesn't count towards your rent.
They already have what you borrowed.
Yeah. Just in case you try to fuck them, they have this deposit.
So then you use that $1,000. I mean, you could buy $20 worth of stuff every month and pay it off.
Yeah.
What I like to do is get as many open as possible. So if you do have like $10,000, you go to every single credit card, bank, or whatever. Usually people that need to get this don't have $10,000 in their bank account, right? But
if you do have 10,000.
if you can, yeah.
Or even just you got 2 G's.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, you can pull that off. There's places that will take you.
Or if you could go to 4 different ones and open up 500 each.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I rather have someone go to like 10 different banks and open up instead of one bank and have a $10,000. It's about the volume, right? Because the more institutions that trust you, that's the concept. And then over time, you're paying $20, right? So let's say if it's 10 split, then you tell the 10 banks over like 3, 4, 5 months, I want to increase, or now I want another card within your bank. Instead of the secure card, I've been paying with this, but now you trust me. Can I open up another like student card, or can I open up a gas card, or can I open up a whatever card?
Yeah.
There's so many different things to cards like APR, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
What do you recommend to somebody who's like just getting into all this shit? Like what to look out for as far as what credit cards to get and not to get?
I really don't think there is a bad card. I think they're all generally the same.
Because even
unless
if you
it's
had
a scam,
if you had even if you had like a high APR,
as long as you're paying it off.
If you're it will only affect you if you're not paying your cards off. So
that's the philosophy, everybody. Every single month, just pay it off. That's it. So no, then you're bulletproof.
Don't spend what you don't have.
Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's basic. Yeah, you're right. And it does. I think as long as it's not a scam, you can literally go and get any card.
Yeah.
If you're building any credit.
And don't close your accounts. I think that's the biggest lesson that I learned.
Don't close it.
Don't close those accounts. You need that age of credit. Okay, we do a thing at the end called Final Thoughts where we just say the last thing. I think I just said mine, which was like, don't spend what you don't have.
Close it.
Don't close it too. Yeah.
Don't spend what you don't have.
Yeah.
Aside from the snore fest of how dangerous credit cards can be, I think if you can harness this power, you can really get rich and you can really have a fun time.
Yeah.
Look, I know I've been quiet this episode because I just wanted to be informative. And this shit's so important that just listen to these two fucks and do whatever they say because they know this shit. And I was in debt too. Like I gave an ex-girlfriend a fucking credit card and she racked up like 15 G's on it.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and this stuff it seems so overwhelming, but as long as you do it one thing at a time, you can get out of a crazy situation for sure.
Easy, because it's just like health, right? You take care of yourself, you'll get good.
Yeah,
that's a good analogy. I like that you started it with that too, because like that is such a good analogy. All right, you could, if you're sick, you could get better. Also, go check out Jitsukawa on all of his social medias. You're Joe Jitsukawa on everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then also check out links in the description for
Joemalian Academy.
Joemalian Academy. Learn all about the credit there. If you missed anything or if anything was confusing, everything's spelled out for you in the academy, in the links and everything.
You also have an Improve Your Life program.
Yeah, I just came
90
out
Days
with
to Freedom.
90 Days to Freedom, yes, because I think I want everyone to achieve their own greatness.
When did the 90 days start?
It started in January.
So by March, you'll be free?
For the students that joined, mentally empowered and free. Yep.
All right, check it out. Also rate us, subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.